meeting to order of the 19th of the Bylaw Committee. And let's see, minutes. Mike has handed out a whole bunch of minutes the last couple of days.
Yep.
Which one?
November, December, January is canceled, February and March.
In March, okay, so good job getting caught up.
Another 8 more to go. Next month, we'll be done.
Any comments on the minutes? Will you look at them? Yes, no, maybe?
I looked at them. No,
Okay.
I didn't have any comments.
Everybody good? Minutes to approve? Motion from somebody?
Make a motion to accept all of them.
Second.
Minutes, motion second. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
One abstention. I wasn't at the meeting, so.
That's okay. Any opposed? Nobody opposed, one abstention, so motion passes. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 801. Let's see. Comments, the two bylaw, the items that were on the town meeting passed. The the trash in the street, or whatever you want to call it, passed pretty well. And the bylaw to change constables from elected to appointed passed, but it needs to go on to, it will go on to the next town meeting, not town meeting, town election. And I was going to ask town council, but I forgot about it, but luckily Jessica did. And the way it works is this is also the same election where we're going to re-elect the constables. So if the town election passes the bylaw and then they will become appointed. If it doesn't pass, then the constables will stay elected. So we've got to make sure that the constables, I think there's 2 of them right now, make sure that they know that, so they put their name on the ballot just in case it should fail. I think it's going to pass, but you never know. Okay. I mean, even if there's if nobody runs, it's not the end of the world, because I think the police chief can appoint one of the existing police officers to do the duties of the constables anyways.
If necessary, yeah.
Yeah, if necessary, so anyway, that's where that stands. I was going to put something on the warrant as well, but for what you wanted, Mike.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, but when I started writing it up, I says, I don't know what exactly to say. And because we didn't really discuss the wording, I don't want to make a mess of this, so I said, let's just get the wording for the annual town meeting to get that on there.
So, yeah,
Okay?
absolutely.
So as far as the 4 priority bylaws, we've got the trash and street is done. Safety portion of Riverfront, we're still waiting for, we don't want to do anything with that till we get that lawsuit is settled.
Right, correct.
Okay. Large venues, that was something that Dan wrote up for us when he was still on the committee.
Actually, I actually received something from Meme and I printed some out for you.
Okay.
As a result of large venues more outside than inside.
Yeah.
They had sent this out as a good, it's police heavy because they don't really have fire department, but the town of Stockbridge, they have a bylaw for larger events, 250 people and more, and I've made extras for you to look at, but you can take a look at it and see. So it just requires the police and fire to sit down, put a plan to get a safety plan together and all sorts of stuff, so I'll hand that out to you. And then there's some additional stuff in there as well for, one of the other things we were talking about was putting articles with penalties and who enforces.
Okay.
So there was some good examples of that, so I thought you might like to look at that as well. But actually, those are all the same.
Okay.
Gotta hit that collate button.
Okay, so that would be good, because I can go to the town, I can go probably to the town of Stockbridge website and get this.
Yeah, so if you want to take a look at it, but there was some good stuff in there for the large venue if you want to add it.
Thanks, sir.
Certainly.
Here's one.
Thank you, sir.
Another page for that. And one more page for that one.
You got it, okay, so that's that. Yours, I guess. Thank you.
Listen, I didn't say I was organized. There you go. That's all. I didn't know if somebody else would. I'll email it out to you. Okay? Sorry.
Town Common, I went, oh, well, we'll get to that one too. Probably leave this one and next one go together a little bit. But tomorrow night, Wednesday, 6 o'clock, the Select Board has requested that I and anybody else that's interested from the Bylaw Committee go to the Select Board meeting to give them an update on where we stand and what our plans are, and just, you know, if we need any help from the Board of Select, from the Select Board, to proceed on what we're doing. So, we'll get to that one in a minute. Town Common, do we want to proceed with a bylaw for the Town Common? I know the Select Board has some regulations on it. Where are the regulations for the Select Board?
Probably in the office. In the
Really?
Town hall, I'm guessing. Yeah.
Okay.
Jennifer might have those, right?
She
One of the
should,
people.
yeah. It's,
Because I was looking for something, when I went to one of the Select Board meeting and talked about something, looking for the Town Common, they made a comment, and I think Molly or Jane made the comment that we have it in our regulations, something about using the Town Common, and I went to the website and there's nothing. So before, I don't want to do this at a meeting, I didn't know what there was on the regulations, so I didn't want to make a big deal about, well, I can't find them at a Select Board meeting.
yeah,
Okay, so Jennifer might have it?
she should, yeah. And, I mean, that's something that I'll be happy to bring up tomorrow night. We had the Smart Growth Steering Committee meeting last night, and we were talking about the overlay for the over 55, and one of the members said, well, you can't do that, that's got to get passed at town meeting. I said, town meeting was last week. He said, what? He said, I've been looking on the website, I haven't seen when the town meeting was. So I don't know how early they post it, so that's just something that needs to be addressed, I think.
Well, there's when you go to the Town of Hadley website, I'm sure everybody knows this, you've got a calendar.
Right.
And when there's a meeting, any meeting is posted, there's a little underline on that date, and you click on that date, and it gives you who's meeting, and then you click on like
Right.
that little, whatever comes up, the little byline,
Yeah.
and it goes to the agenda.
Yeah, I didn't,
Wasn't on there though. The town meeting was not, I did not see it on there. I looked several times.
Yeah, I did too.
Really?
I looked a couple of
It's not
times.
on- The calendar is out of date. There's lots
Yeah.
of stuff like that that's missing.
Yeah.
It was
It should-
listed on the right-hand side, there was a notice that said town meeting, but I almost called to say, by the way, somebody needs to fill that calendar.
Yeah, I had looked at, I had been looking
Yeah.
and it wasn't there. It was posted like 1 or 2 days before the
Right.
meeting. So I
Yes.
did see
It
it
was
go
late.
up, but it was pretty late.
Yeah.
It was very late, but there also should be some simple instructions that this is
How to
how
use the
you
sign.
click from one to another.
Yeah.
Because anybody that doesn't know, we know that only because we've
Right.
done it.
Yeah.
But there's
Right.
gotta be, it has to be updated better.
okay.
Yeah.
well,
There's a lot of really old stuff on there.
Yeah.
And especially with some of the other departments.
Okay,
There's-
I'll bring it up.
And it's not a fault of theirs, it's just the way life is.
Yeah, I get it,
Trying
yeah.
to get things, you
Yeah,
know, and should we have somebody that's
dedicated to that,
dedicated?
probably, or at least somebody that it's
Well, they used
their
to-
job to keep it updated. I don't know who does what, so.
Well, they used to have sign in front of town hall and over by the library sometimes, and then they had a sign by the school that said town meeting with the date, and usually a week or two before.
Yeah, well, the one was in the first church yard.
Yeah.
That I saw, but I don't go on the website because
Yeah.
I get reminded every 2 weeks when town meeting is, so I don't need to worry about it.
Yeah.
But
You
for
could
those of us that
also
don't,
reach out to the high school to get
Yeah, true.
one of the kids to come on in and help with that, because they're always
yeah, good
they're always
idea.
looking for somebody.
Good idea.
Intern.
Yes, yeah, I don't know what see what that's all about. What their job currently is.
Yeah, you could also do
Well,
a
that's the
pattern,
point.
you can make use the website, you can make a little video called how to use the website. And then have a cursor just go, we did this for other customers of ours, and you just, it floats around, and there's audio or a captioning that says, click here, this will open up when you want to see the agenda, click that, boom, and it'll take you through the whole site, how to find things.
Okay.
It's not that hard to do, especially now with the new websites.
So Jim, were you asking if you want to make it, the town common regulations into a bylaw?
I'm asking, do we want to proceed with that idea of making the town common stuff into a bylaw?
My suggestion would be yes.
Mine too.
This is a routine issue that we deal with on the police department end, dealing with parking complaints and dealing with use complaints. Metal detecting is a huge one, parking is another huge one. So we've got,
Okay.
I think we should have something codified somewhere where we as the police department or whoever the whoever the authority is going to be, that can be able to go and say, what you're doing is against our bylaws, and
Yeah.
if you
Okay.
continue to do this, this is the penalty.
Okay, I'll try to get from Jennifer the regulations for the select board, and I don't want to duplicate, I don't know if we want to, let me ask this. If the select board has a regulation on it, leave that as a regulation and only put into the bylaw what isn't in the regulations, or would you want to make it, the regulations part of the bylaw? I'm
Well,
not sure.
My opinion on that is everything in one place.
One spot,
Because
okay.
it's too hard to go, okay, I think I found the regs for the common, and I've read it and I understand it, and I go do something, and then Lieutenant Cook comes and tells me you can't do that, but it's not here. Oh yeah, but it's over there.
Okay, good idea, that's a good point. One spot, one shop, one-stop
One-stop
shopping, yes, okay. Okay.
Can you reference a regulation from a bylaw or reverse? Can you-
Yeah, within the regulations, there can be, like somebody, say the select board has regulations on the town common. Okay, so we take the select board regulations, put them into the bylaw, and then where a select board has regulation, we just say, see bylaws, number such and such.
Okay.
Yeah,
Jimmy,
Yep.
would the bylaw also include not just the commons, but
the way the bylaw is written,
to the house?
it includes both areas,
No,
but
all
they're
areas.
treated somewhat different. The bylaw is this and this and this, but I'm treating the
You call it tree.
The two west, okay, call it the tree belt. I am treating, at least by the way it's written, the tree belt is pretty much being treated as though it was your front yard. Okay, so that, yeah, your actual front yard on a common in most places is, I don't know, is it 15 feet from most houses?
Yes.
And so I'm saying that for the tree belt portion, you can park your cars there, you can mow it, you can treat it as though it's your front lawn, but you could, if you got a farm stand, during farm season, you can put your farm stand there. You can put a sign for your farm stand there. However, nothing shall be permanent. Once this growing season essentially is done, the stuff is removed for the winter. As far as plowing snow, you can plow the snow from your driveway, but there's nothing requiring you to plow snow from your sidewalk.
The only thing that I see that happens on West Street a lot is certain cars park under the trees all the time in a specific spot. There's no grass left now.
Okay?
Should that be addressed somehow?
Probably should, and I think what we do is, let me get a draft,
Yeah.
then we can critique it to the heart's content to make it the way we want. That's a good point. If you're gonna park cars there, okay, but parking it in the same spot, like you said, is gonna kill the grass. It's like when, S-Line used to always park their cars there. It's been almost 3 years since they stopped parking cars there, and finally, the grass is coming back. Okay?
And now they're parked on the other side.
Yes, I noticed that.
What do you mean on the other side?
On the opposite side of the common, they're parking on the Primo side of the common and walking across to Esalen.
Oh, I haven't noticed
Because it's
that.
not posted on the other side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. but
Okay,
I can.
we could, that's just a matter of getting the select board to have it posted all over, because, okay, I have not seen that.
So the problem would be though, is this came up recently where a resident was complaining about the folks that are walking on the Dawson Conservation Area. Folks are parking on the common because there's not enough room within the conservation area. And then the old parking area is obviously all bouldered off. So a resident called and said they shouldn't be parking on the common.
Why is the old parking area bouldered off? I didn't know.
They
that.
created a new one, the new conservation parking area.
Yeah.
The area where they bouldered it that wasn't supposed to be parking.
That was at the end of West
The
Street
end of
where
West-
you
Oh, okay, yeah.
could drive into the river if you wanted to.
Right. So the resident called and said, there shouldn't be anyone parking on the common. And here are the parking regulations that say that you shouldn't be parking on the, that people shouldn't be allowed to park on the common. None of those parking regulations applied directly to what the resident was saying, but that particular resident also uses the common in front of their house to park on. So my statement back to the resident was, if this is your argument for why they shouldn't park there, does that also apply to you and your neighbors relative to parking on the common? And do you think that I heard back? I did not hear back.
That's a surprise.
So I think that we need to have clear bylaws posted. Right now, the area outside of Essalon is the only area that is designated by the select board and posted.
It
as no
posted
parking.
it's posted from Russell Street, well over halfway down, no parking.
Correct.
But once, as soon as the no parking sign stopped, people use it all the time. Like, okay, somebody has a party, they park on a common, I don't have a big deal about that. In the house, everything like else. However, but there's, I don't know who it is, I remember seeing lately, somebody's parking routinely their vehicles on the common. There's probably, I want to say there's half a dozen vehicles
I've
parked.
seen
On the
them
south
too,
side?
and-
Park?
On the south end,
I think
they
it's,
go out and it's behind my house.
actually, there's a place on the north side parking.
Yes.
Yeah, on the south side, there's
One on
one
the
too.
north
They go out and they
side.
pick vegetables.
Yeah, that's the farm there, they always, the farm employees park there. I don't know why.
It's not even farm employees, it's people coming to
Yeah, their farm share.
farm
Oh, okay,
or
okay.
tours, like walking through and looking at all the pretty.
okay.
That same location was an issue not this past summer, the summer before, where the owner of the property had a bunch of round bales dropped on
Right,
the common.
I remember that.
And left there.
Yeah,
I'll just put them out there, it's fine, I'll get them whenever.
yeah, yeah.
You gotta love it.
I mean, putting the bylaw forward will probably be not too difficult, getting it approved. Enforcing it might be a bit of a challenge for all people involved. Yes?
Yeah, and I agree with putting it in one place. I guess my only concern is, again, that in a bylaw, we come up with all these ideas of what we think are necessary, and then right after it passes, somebody comes up with a new way to use the common in a way that now, in reality, if we'd known that, we would have put it into the bylaw.
Yeah.
Murphy's Law.
Yeah, into the,
Yeah,
So now we have to go back and,
Well, the thing is not to make the bylaw so specific to this use or to that
Right.
use, but like very broad base, no parking on the common.
Okay.
And make an exception that if you've got a party or something like that, people can use it, but if you can park on the tree belt, I mean, there's not very many parties that are gonna be much bigger than that, I would think, for a house party. Could be wrong. And also include in there that there's no agricultural exemption for using the common. That's also specifically mentioned that I've written so far. Like a lot of parties, well, I'm in agriculture, I'm exempt. No. This applies to everybody, carte blanche.
Yeah.
No.
And
But, like I said, when we get the first draft put together, and then we can rip it apart, whatever we want to do to it.
yeah, and
You know?
to Paul's concern, every bylaw is a living entity.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, no, I get that. I just wondered whether in this particular case it would be prudent to have reference additional rules and regulations and have a separate document that's on the website. You know, in addition to these, there may be additional, and here's where they are, just so that we have the ability.
And let's put this
Yeah.
bylaw together, see what it looks like. I said, then we can rip it apart, add it, regulation, whatever we want. If we need to cross-reference to something, we can.
And I'm thinking about the discussion about the tree belt. So if you equate the tree belt to a standard property situation where my boundary line is here and there's grass between me and the blacktop, and I treat that as my own. So the thought in my mind is, okay, what's the difference between that and the tree belt? It's a similar situation, it just happens to be part of the common. So I think we just have to think pretty hard about comparing the two.
Except
so we don't get in
except
trouble.
for your front lawn and for your front yard and mine, that area is probably,
12 feet,
10 or 12 feet.
Right.
And this one is probably 50.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and you're absolutely right. By no means do I claim to have the answers to this. Let me put together what I have, and like I said, we come back, we have several months to chop it apart, add whatever we want to do to it, and let's do that. And if we don't make the annual town meeting, well, we can go up with the fall, but let's put
Yeah.
together something that meets at least the needs we think for the present. And if we need regulations, like Paul says, we can cross-reference something else. But the first thing to start is okay, this is what I've got, I will mail that out, what I have within the next week or so. And, then take a look at it, and our next meeting, we can discuss it to a lot. Okay. Do we have any other hot ones we want to add to this 4 venues, or just stay with 3 priorities for now?
So we were talking before about farm animals,
Yep.
and I don't know where I don't see it on here. Has it fallen by the wayside? And the reason I ask this, or bring it back up, I've talked to you and Mitch about this. On my property on Route 9, I have neighbors who have chickens. Said neighbors do not speak English. Their chickens love my yard. So they come over and tear up all my mulch and throw it on my sidewalk and whatever, and and I chase the chickens back, but I can't talk to these people and say, hey, keep your chickens off my property. So if we were more concerned about noise before, but now this issue came up. My daughter had chickens, and my wife and kid wanted them to be running around in the yard, and I wouldn't let them because they always go to the neighbors and tear their stuff apart. So the same situation here. I shouldn't have to be going out every day and sweeping my mulch back into my garden
Well,
beds.
that's a good point. Any farm animals permitted on any property in town, unless you got something, there's certain subdivisions that have covenants. However, they need to be, we can simply make a thing that the farm animals need to be contained within your yard. You can have anything you want within reason, but you just gotta somehow contain them.
Yeah, but we don't, there's, the within reason doesn't exist because we are a farming community. So we've talked about this before. Jimmy, you could have 100 pigs in your backyard, and is that appropriate? I don't think so, but there's nothing that says you can't.
Right.
And your neighbors will not like you very well for that. I mean, I've got, at my house, I have new neighbors. They put a 6-foot stockade fence around. They've got goats, chickens, and I don't care. They make noise, big deal. Every once in a while, the wind's blowing the right way. I say, okay, clean your goat pen, please. But it's just, something can get really out of control, and it's not fair to the neighbors that this stuff, and Tony Listowski has roosters again. So I'm sure you guys must have heard about that a few times.
Yes.
So
So the right to farm, it'd have to still be the agricultural. If it was on the other side of Mount Warner, like if Tony was on the other side, it wouldn't be allowed unless it's 5 acres.
right, well, that's the thing. Like I said before, South Hadley's it's a right to farm town, but if you want to farm under 5 acres, you got to get a special permit. So I think that would be beneficial. just because most people do the right thing, but every once in a while you get somebody that just doesn't get it, has no respect for their neighbors.
Well,
and-
sometimes it's not no respect, it's purposefully no respect.
True.
You said it has to be a minimum of 5 acres?
That's what it is in South Hadley.
Yeah.
Aren't there some rules also on square footage for certain animals?
I think horses.
Well, chickens, I think also now.
I don't
thought
think we have
did,
that. It's not in our bylaw at all. So-
No, but I think it's a state law. I think it
is.
was the change in the state law was a while ago. that
Yeah,
how many-
that's
we
all.
get to
that's
stop
all-
the battery chicken.
Yeah, that's all the commercial, right?
Yeah, and that doesn't apply to people just, somebody who just decides to start selling eggs or just wants chickens.
I think it's only applies to commercial.
Okay.
So is that South Hadley bylaw, is that a zoning bylaw?
I doubt it.
I don't remember. It might be.
A zoning bylaw?
I'm trying to remember where I found it in
Well,
there.
if it's a special permit, it would have to be a zone bylaw.
Yeah, and so I'm pretty sure it's in the zoning bylaw. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I've tried to look in the state regs for, animal rules and regulations, and the only thing they have is for dogs that I've found. So, domesticated animals are only dogs. And I guess,
I don't know, we
if you
gotta
have a
see.
farm animal, you don't qualify it as a domesticated animal, but still, I think we need to do something about that. And not just for me, because there's other people who are,
We could call it Randy's Law.
well, no thanks.
I think the town would vote for that.
Yeah,
So you want to add that to the priority? Make
well, I
that a
think,
priority now?
I think so.
You want to take looking into that, Randy?
Oh, sure. I mean, I found some stuff before that I crossed
Okay.
out. I don't remember where it is, but I'll see if I can find it again.
We have a house across the street from us that has a lone cow who moves all the time. I never heard it. I mean, literally, it just was not conscious of it. Till the neighbor next to him one day was talking to me about that damn cow is outside, wakes us up every day. Now I hear the thing all the time. It's like I have bell clocks in my office. There's like 8 of them that do ship's bells. And so, at the half hour and the hour, you're gonna hear all these bells going off, which has been fun for people on Zoom calls with me. I don't hear them. Everybody else hears them. I don't hear them because I'm in there all the time. But this cow now I hear all the time. Doesn't, okay, I get a little bit of that.
I think these were these the ones?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you want them?
I'll take them back and then I'll make copies and hand them out again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Those are the ones you had, when we were talking specifically about noise?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember, I think you brought the noise up, or somebody brought the noise up.
Well, it was probably brought up because of Tony Listowski's roosters.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, everybody think that's a good idea to have, large venues. Oh, you got something with the venue that we'll look at. Yeah, okay,
I'll work on that some more too then.
okay.
And one of the things we were concerned with the large venues was the noise. And I know Country in the Country last year or this year was a bust because of the weather.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody got there to
Well, they had something
measure
since then.
some noise
They had
levels.
something after that, but it was.
They had Oktoberfest.
Yeah, but the thing is, well, I guess Mr. Michkowski's no longer president, from what I understand, and somebody else has taken over. And it's like, one group moves out, another group kind of moves in, and this group seems to me, from the outside looking in, to be a whole lot more cooperative. Am I correct or incorrect?
I don't know, I haven't had any issues, the select board hasn't had any issues with them for quite some time, so I don't know about the,
Not since we brought them in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah, they've definitely been more subdued as opposed to, we're gonna do what we
This is what we're
want.
doing, right?
They seem to be very cooperative.
And it's actually still the same president. I don't think Johnny was the president.
Oh, he wasn't?
No, it just he was on the board or
Okay, but he was
it's the same
definitely.
president that's been there quite a while.
He was definitely quite vocal. Anyways, but nevertheless,
I'll reach out when I get done with this meeting.
it's like the constable thing. Right now, everything is quiet, but I don't think we want to wait
Right,
for it to get out of hand again.
right.
Well, and I will say that for Oktoberfest, there weren't issues on the police side inside of the event, but anytime that they have a large event there, we get several of the area residents are upset,
Yeah.
putting it nicely, and calling and
With the noise?
with the noise.
Yeah, because we can hear it over in our backyard if we're sitting on our back porch.
Yeah.
Depending on what they're saying, like if they have a DJ
Yep.
on the horn, it's like they're in the next.
Yeah, and a lot of it depends on which way the wind is blowing, because
Yes.
when, I was surprised the last couple events there, we haven't heard anything at my house, but the wind has kind of been from the north wind going, south going towards the north, but when it's the other way, they sound like they're in your backyard. Like, I know, you can hear them like crazy most of the time, but the last few, I saw the event, but there was absolutely no noise in my yard, even though I'm a mile away.
Yeah, the last few have been okay.
Okay, so anyways, okay.
You know what's getting to be a problem for noise, and nothing we can do about it, is the airplanes. Constantly.
What
The
airplanes?
small airplanes from the airport,
Oh, Pilgrim? Or LaFleur?
Hampton.
from Northampton.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, yeah.
They're just awful.
There's a couple of small.
There's a
planes
few
very
small
noisy.
planes that are incredibly loud.
Yeah.
Others are fine. I mean,
Yeah.
they're like little putters. But there's two that are so loud that you'd have to be shouting to hear yourself talk. It's gotten bad. I wish there was something we could do about it, but I don't mind the planes. It's the noise. Some of them are horrendously
I
loud.
have no idea what FAA regulations
Yeah,
are.
you're never gonna get on
But
that.
it's, the number of planes flying over,
They're doing touch and goes.
Downtown.
It's the same plane.
it's the same plane.
It's the same
And
plane.
it just
They're just
goes
doing touch- that's
around
what
and
they do.
around
They have
and
to
around
practice.
and around.
Yeah. You have to do that all day long.
I don't know if
Till you get good at
they're,
it. And then you still do it.
they're students, learning,
They
but the number of the small planes has really increased tremendously.
Yeah,
You
that's,
should hear some of the boats on the river.
Yeah.
Well, luckily,
So boats on the river, yeah, that's always the case in the summer, because
luckily
there's,
that pontoon with the 4 quads,
It's
he's
not,
gone.
there's a couple of, what they call cigarette boats that are so loud.
There was a
You-
pontoon boat
You can
that
be
had
across the river and down below in your,
4
Yeah.
225s on it.
yeah.
there's a speed limit on a river. What good is that?
Yeah, but the cops can't catch them and they're not always out there anyway. There's not a police boat out there that can do
Yeah.
the speed that those boats.
We're more concerned about,
Yeah, but not catching a pontoon boat is a poor excuse, because it's not like they can run away.
Oh, the pontoons now can do 50, 60 miles an hour.
I don't care how fast
Yeah.
they go. They're limited to where they can run.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, the
Okay.
whole river, you're limited to that, but, you know, you still gotta wanna go get them, you know?
But anyways,
So you're talking about priorities right now, so large venues is one.
The stadium.
large venues, farm
The
animals,
boats with the stadium.
safety portion of riverfront we're gonna put on the side, town common, and,
that's it.
yeah, that's it.
We're gonna finish up the lithium, the battery storage, correct?
Yeah, just get me, after the meeting, you and I can sit down for a minute, we can talk about that. Okay.
Excuse me.
All right, updates on other bylaws. I mean, on the last, it's gonna be 6 months ago, we went over the rest of the bylaw, and everybody had little assignments to look at this and that and everything else. Anybody have updates on what they're working on? But probably most people have forgot about what they were supposed to be doing. But it's probably in the minutes that Mike has put together. So, I mean, for the next meeting, let's start to hit some of these bylaw assignments, if there's updates or not, that you have. If it's good, it's good. If it's not, recommend anything.
So Paul and I looked at the recycling bylaw, but I saw that that's an agenda item, so we
Yeah.
could wait till.
Yeah, that's, we'll get to that one in a second.
I had, at a meeting a few meetings ago, I had brought up the handicap access as part of the streets and sidewalks, and I had drafted some language which I'm realizing I don't think I ever sent to Jennifer, I think she had asked for it, so I can send that to her. And the other thing I have not followed up on is I actually need to follow up with you about abandoned vehicles as part of the Bylaw 247. So that's outstanding for me.
Okay. Like I said, be ready to at least discuss those items on our next agenda.
Sure.
Like I said, tomorrow night, the select board has asked me to talk to them of where we are, what we're going on, what's planned. Anybody is welcome to attend. It's not going to be a posted meeting, so we're not going to have any kind of a, but if anybody, I'll make my 2 cents, and if anybody has something to add, if they want to attend, you're welcome to add your 2 cents. Okay. The other items I've got is a business owner in Hadley asked me why we do not have a bylaw on recycling, especially for businesses. And in other words, they recycle cardboard and paper, but there's nothing on plastics or otherwise that's required to do that. And at least I'm not aware of anything. I mean, our recycling waste bylaw is pretty generic. And because we don't have a town-wide, how I say this, consistent trash or waste pickup. We have several different companies that pick up trash and waste. We have the town dump, waste drop-off center, we call it town dump, but the recycle, the waste at the old town dump.
Transfer
station.
Then, putting together a recycle bylaw, if we decide to do that or think that it's necessary, it's probably going to be a bit cumbersome, because how do you get multiple different entities all on board and try to enforce it? But I'm open to any suggestion if we think it's a good idea.
Well, I think it's, at least from the private sector, it's kind of self-policing. If you have trash service, you get a waste container and you get a recycle container. And I'm sure the recycle container costs less money than the waste retainer. And then those of us that go to the transfer station, you throw, you pay for a bag, that costs X amount of dollars, but anything you can recycle, you don't have to put in the bag, so in theory, it costs you less money if you recycle properly. So as far as the businesses go, I don't know. They all have dumpsters, and I know the barbecue, he's got 2 dumpsters. He's got a trash dumpster and a recycle dumpster, and the recycle is a one stream, so anything that's recyclable goes in there. So I guess businesses ought to, if they're concerned, should be looking out for themselves rather than having to be mandated to do it.
Yeah, you're right. I think people who go to the transfer station, for the most part, I know my wife's an absolute maniac on recycling. She beats me all the time. You shouldn't throw that little piece away. That's recycling. Rah, 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 rah. Yes.
Did you get that from
We need that for the gag reel.
I doubt I'm alone on that one. But you're right. As far as the business go, how would that be enforceable?
Well, that's what I was gonna say, is that you're gonna have Tommy doing random trash pulls.
No, that's gonna be a police department.
Get him a hazmat suit and in the dumpster he goes.
Dumpster diver.
Yeah.
I think, if I may, I think the issue is that we can't put anything in here, like right now the bylaw says what you separate.
Right.
Which I think is overkill, because we can't control what happens in the marketplace for recyclables, and you might be separating glass by color or paper, and suddenly they say, no, throw it all into the single stream, which is what happened to us. I had Dussault Waste at my building. We had 10 totes. We sorted the white paper, office paper, cardboard, we had a whole dumpster for, and then we had plastics, and then we had glass. And as soon as they went out of business and sold out their routes to, USA. They called me up and, oh, great news, Mr. Benjamin, we're gonna take all those totes away from you, and we're gonna give you the one dumpster, you can just dump it in there. And I said, so you're landfilling it all? And the guy goes, no, we're recycling, it's just got single stream. And I said, yeah, so it's going to a landfill. And then finally, after a couple of minutes, he goes, well, you're a little more informed than most of our customers. Because it's ridiculous. It's all put together, and it's not going, like, we have a MRF down in Springfield, and the community, the MRF, it's a materials recycling sorting facility or something.
Cadwell
And they-
Drive.
Yeah, and it's a phenomenal thing, and, you know, they bring in, stuff goes out on conveyors, and there's air blowing them, and magnetic sorters, and by the time it gets down to the end, there's people who do the last bits, and it sorts the plastic out just by air blowing it. They can determine, you know, what type it is, you know, 1, 2, 3, or whatever the codes are. But most of the haulers have abandoned all that, and the reason is that the markets for those individual plastics and glass have gone down since, for a lot of reasons, because a lot of it used to go overseas in the end and get recycled and rebuilt. That's not happening anymore. So in my opinion here is that we should have a generic thing requiring recycling, and the individual type of recycling, whether it's single source or more, you know, aggressive sorting, which is better for the planet, should be at whatever the individual site is. So that if we did a thing that all businesses must have a recycling program for their waste stream, which can include single source or, you know, more, you know, sorting, okay, that would suffice to make them all put a second, you know, have their haulers bring in a second dumpster that's for, you know, hopefully paper, you know, like if you go to a mall, there should be, you know, plastics, paper, and waste. And that would help us in terms of, you know, getting people to think a little bit more about that in our commercial stream, you know. I don't think that's very onerous on businesses to have a second dumpster if it's single source. Most of the big haulers, that's all they're doing now. And
But
then-
USA has that same, I don't know where it is in Connecticut or where, but they
Yeah.
have that same facility that they
They
own.
do. They claim they sort it out, and they may, you know. I mean, I can tell you, I went to Dussault's, I've done a lot of PR and education on stuff, and I bought I went to Buddy's once and saw them doing the paper, and the guys are going into the pile, and they're pulling out magazines and stuff, and that's when I bought a shredder. You know, because they're getting all these pieces of paper. Oh, that's an interesting letter. So that's when I bought a shredder. It can be done from single source, but most of the paper gets destroyed by, you know, food waste and stuff that makes it unrecyclable. Right now, there's a campaign by the pizza manufacturers of America, whatever that group is, to say, put your pizza boxes in with the recycled paper because it's okay, it doesn't ruin it. They used to, when I was doing work in the 90s, you know, at UMass and around the valley, pizza boxes were not recyclable. The grease was considered, it destroyed the paper. Now they decided that the dilution rate of the grease doesn't matter.
Well, Hadley's at the compost, that thing's always full of pizza boxes.
Yeah.
There's lots of pizza
Oh, yeah.
boxes.
A lot of pizza.
Yeah.
And, well, there's two big recycling places. There's the one on Cadwell Drive in Springfield.
Yep.
And the city of Holyoke has one on Main Street, almost across from the old, was it Hazen Paper? Something like that? Right, almost right next to Subaki. That belongs to, I think that belongs to Sullivan. They do recycling there.
And there's a place in Westfield that you can take paint and stuff like that, you pay for it to go, but I drive fluorescent bulbs, well, the few that we still have that we haven't been able to convert yet to LEDs, but you go down there and you pay per foot,
Right.
you know,
For
fluorescent tubes.
So
You have
that's
to,
what I was
you have to
gonna
kind of
ask.
say you're from the town, but the guy knows, you know, I said, you know, there's nowhere else to take them. Northampton used to do recycled bulbs, they'd pre-sell you, like for $40 that tube, you filled the tube up, and then you just brought it in and got another one paid, and they don't do
The
that.
Hadley transfer station takes fluorescent tubes.
So do you, yeah. okay.
I was there the other day, and the guy had like 6 of them he was putting into the,
What's
what
they charge? What do they charge?
they charge you for them, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably more than the two.
Probably more than buying a new one.
Yeah, it used to be like 20 or 25 cents a foot, you know, but still, you know, well, back then the bulbs were $2.25, now the bulbs are $1, you know,
Yeah.
but.
So the question is, that's come up, because Jessica gets a lot of call on that, it's maybe something in the bylaw for that type of recycling. So we're talking about paper and single stream, but the hazmat side, so paint, chemicals,
Yeah,
all that, we don't really have a program in Hadley. We're always just saying, oh, keep your ears open for, you know, for hammers, or you can take it to the
Well, if you can let the paint dry, then you can throw it away as trash. But it's a pain, but I remember when
I don't know
I
what kind it is, yeah.
worked, any kind.
Because some of it, the oils don't dry out though.
Well, it takes forever.
Yeah.
I remember I knew
Material they sell, you
where I
can
used
put
to
in.
work, they had gallons, and I mean gallons of old paint. And it took me, and no exaggeration, I made cardboard boxes, I lined them with plastic.
Yep.
It took me a year. And I eventually got rid of all the old paint by putting a layer in there, letting it dry for a week, and then a layer, and then a layer. There was probably about, each box probably had 3 or 4 inches of dried paint. And they said, yeah, we can just throw it away once it's dry, but that took a huge amount of time.
Well, there's an initiative in the state. We've had a gentleman come to the select board twice now regarding some bylaw or state law where there will be an additional fee on every paint you buy.
VOC.
And then that will allow you to return any unused paint to participating stores. So you don't have to have a receipt, you don't have to have anything. The guy said they're doing it in Vermont. If you have paint from here and you take it up there, they have to take it because they can't say where it come from. So I think that's going to be huge because I've got a basement full of paint that I'll never use, and I'm not about to spend the rest of my life trying to get the paint to dry out. So
You said that's in process?
in process, yes.
There's a drying agent you can also buy. It's a bag of stuff and just mix it in and it'll
Yeah.
solidify it.
Yeah.
What it's called, but
Yeah, that's
I've done
how it
that.
works. It's instantaneous.
It's instantaneous
Oh,
with
really?
any kind of paint. Yep, I bought it. It's
All that time you wasted.
Well,
that kept them out of other trouble, so that's okay.
this goes back, let's see, I've been out 7 years, this goes back about 12 years, so.
So I was just looking at bylaws, trash and recycling regulations. This is from the town of Amherst. They have an entire committee that is dedicated
Just one?
to recycling and refuse management.
I don't think we want to do that.
Yeah,
No,
well,
I'm not saying, I'm just saying that I think that the town of Amherst has recognized that this is all obviously multifaceted. You're dealing with hazardous materials, you're talking with paint, fluorescents, batteries, the change of the law with mattresses and textiles, is that what it is? Textiles, yeah.
Yeah.
one thing I
So-
noticed in a lot of the bylaws I was looking at is that the Board of Health has jurisdiction over whatever recycling and waste management bylaw, and actually it's recommended by the state. So I talked to Ben Lippin from the Board of Health, and he's gonna do some research into what recommendations he would make into, like, crafting a new waste bylaw. But Southampton has something like that, so I printed out an example of Southampton's waste and recycling bylaw, which it also has the sorting, but they also mentioned how Board of Health has to approve whatever waste haulers are in town.
And batteries, I've heard a couple of times, the transfer station will take batteries.
They've just started doing
Yeah,
that this
not-
year.
Not car batteries, you have to pay for those, but regular flashlight batteries and things of that nature, they will take.
Yeah, but car batteries you can take to a couple of the different auto stores will buy it. They'll give you a
Right,
$20 credit
Right.
for.
Court charge.
Right, in theory, you shouldn't have a battery if you get a new one, you
Yeah, yeah.
That's right, go get your,
trade the old one in.
go get your court charge.
That's it.
The,
Are there no printing them?
well, from what I understand, unless it's a lithium
Someone email me.
battery,
Yeah.
flashlight battery, any battery, one that's dead can be tossed into the trash. So even it says right on there, they can be thrown away.
Yeah, well, I
Many
guess
of them.
they're doing something to recycle them, so.
Okay.
And they're saying, anything to keep out of the landfills, so.
Okay.
And then one other thing is that apparently, well, at least I was talking to Scott McCarthy from the DPW about the transfer station, and there's DEP state regulations that the DPW has to keep up with. So we can include maybe in whatever bylaw, if we craft one, like a pointer to those regulations instead of mentioning, writing them all out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if we can cross-reference within a bylaw or whatever we have to a state reg, we don't have to repeat it word for word.
Right.
Because you just say, and you see that constantly throughout zoning and existing bylaws, mass chapter, such and such, general laws, chapter 48 is all about zoning. And there's things in there that reference that in the zoning bylaw.
Kayla, were you talking about his recycling for like waste oil, stuff like that? Is that
DPW?
for DPW?
I was talking, the transfer station, Scott was telling me that the DEP does inspections regularly. to make sure that everything's up to date or whatever with the current regulations.
Because they do have Hadley is a small quantity generator under DEP
Okay,
so you can bring the oil you take out of your car and drop it
okay.
off there. So,
yeah, as long as it's just oil.
correct.
No, well, it's whatever, anything, any flammable fluid. So oil, transmission fluid, brake fluid.
Right, but we can't, they don't want antifreeze mixed
Oh,
in and
yeah,
stuff
right,
like that.
right.
Yeah, they don't want any water-type things in
Right.
there.
Yeah, that doesn't go well with their heater.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
theoretically, it'll separate out, but it's a real nightmare to separate them out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it would also be a good thing to bring up at the select board meeting, because the select board does procurement or whatever for the transfer station waste management company, and so there's kind of a lot of moving parts where DPW is involved, select board's involved, and Board of Health maybe is involved. At least
You're
with,
talking for a forum to bring it up about asking.
Yeah.
Because a lot of communities, the DPW does run that, but we don't.
Yeah.
So that's,
right.
Okay. And what do you want to, just so we're clear, what would you want to bring up? Just questions about how to recycle and what?
I think what the select board processes are for authorizing waste management companies, and
Okay.
if, how to incorporate that into a bylaw, or if it should be incorporated into the bylaw.
Yeah, because isn't it required by, it is required, the Board of Health has to approve and license anybody that's driving a dump truck through, or, track truck through our community. They're responsible for that portion. I'm almost
Right.
positive on that. Does that sound right?
I
don't
mean,
think
Board
we
of
do
Health
it.
seems, yeah, he
They-
seems
they
like
are-
he's not involved in
They
it,
are
so-
required to do that, though.
Yeah.
yeah,
So USA Waste, all those are supposed to be,
I don't think we ever have. I know Southampton did and
Yeah.
any of the other places.
because
but-
then we require a combustible permit for a dumpster being dropped off if it's over 8 yards for more than 24 hours. Because they end up putting it up against the house and then it starts on fire, so.
Okay.
That's bad.
Every once in a while.
There's something else for Ben, I'll have to bring that up.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's good. I mean, all right. Something to, okay. All right, so we'll, so next up on the recycle. I will, at tomorrow night's meeting, I'll ask the select board about their process or their procedures for authorizing trash haulers, if we have something, who's in charge and stuff like that. As far as the overall recycling, well, what I'm hearing, it sounds like we should update our existing bylaw, but not make it specific, but more generic.
I think that sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
Right, in other words, it sounds like the transfer station and most of the haulers, like you said, residential's pretty well set. And even though there are probably 3 or 4 different ways that it's done, but at least it's being done relatively consistently. But as far as businesses go, it's a little bit different, and that's gonna kind of be up to each business. Would anybody like to take that on to revise our bylaw? Look at it.
Yeah, we could keep
We can do that.
So this would be specifically for businesses and requirements for recycling.
Right, yeah, and like, I think like Paul said, like you were saying, you're both looking at, it sounds like we are on the same page as for, don't be specific,
Right.
but be
Right.
generic that you should have whatever,
You're required to have some type of
have
recycling.
some kind of recycling program, and it'll be up to your hauler.
Right, as to.
Some haulers would probably take everything as far as plastic and paper together, some probably only want one or the other. Well, then that's what you're gonna have to, what that business would have to deal with. It depends who your hauler is. And as opposed to saying, you're gonna do this and you're gonna do this, because then you're both gonna go like this.
Yeah.
Well, they won't be able to either. I mean,
Yeah, it is, and it's gonna be a disaster. Where, nobody wants to be told what to do too much. I mean, it's one thing to say, okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. It's another thing to be forcing everybody to do something that their haulers aren't in line with.
And I think most people today are very well aware of the need to recycle.
Yeah,
And, I mean, unless it becomes an impossibility for whatever reason, most people will comply.
yeah,
Well, what you're gonna find out is, like at the mall, these I'll call them franchises, the larger corporations, they have their own specific requirements. So even though, which I found when I was building inspector, that there were some local, the business wanted to recycle, but they're not allowed to, based on corporate, out of Texas or whatever. And that was problematic because they take everything and shove it and compress it, and it goes out as a cube. And there's nothing we can do because corporate won't allow us to put something separate, because you gotta have it separate, and you gotta have it separate in such a way that it's not a fire hazard, especially with cardboard and things like that. So everything goes in, gets compressed, and goes out as a cube. And it's a shame because they want to recycle. But, you know, how do you fix that? But then again, if it is in the bylaw, and that's the nice thing, they can always say, hey, look, corporate, we gotta do it, and which happens on other issues.
But the only thing about that, like I said, you gotta make sure that your trash hauler is in line with whatever the regs that we want them to do, because if you got a trash hauler that says they handle that, then what do you do? I mean, you can't.
I think you'll find out most of the trash haulers do.
Yeah. And I can't imagine we're gonna be, it doesn't sound like the regulation we wanna put in is gonna be anything outlandish. It's gonna be, you know, paper is one paper, different types of paper is one line, and if you have a second line, it would be the other things, metal, plastics, or
I think
whatever.
the general statement that Hadley recognizes the need to recycle, and we really would like everybody to recycle and put it as for the commercial end. And maybe some of you'll find the restaurants at the malls, unfortunately.
In the words of a famous police lieutenant, it's educational.
Yes.
So did I hear that Paul and you were gonna continue working?
Yeah, we'll work on
To
it.
that point though, do we need to have anything in here that talks about like batteries or fluorescents? Like, just, I'm wondering, because when I moved to town, before the transfer station started taking batteries, I was like, what do I do with my batteries? I don't know where to bring them, and I wanted to like dispose of them in the right way, but I wasn't really sure. And so, you know, I know the purpose of the bylaw isn't necessarily to educate. It's supposed to be, this is what you cannot do, but there's no language in here that's clear about that. So I'm wondering if, in addition to putting some bylaws in place that are about businesses, do we need to put something in here that makes that clear?
There is actually technically, and that's something you should bring up at your select board too, is there is a hazardous waste coordinator that's supposed to be appointed by the select board.
Okay.
So, I mean, that is listed on the appointments list, and that was, it's never really been filled. A few times
Is that a board member or not?
No, it's supposed, no. But,
Well,
yes,
anyway, I'm just wondering if this is like
I agree with you.
an opportunity to at least
Yeah.
point people in the right direction of like, we don't necessarily need to spell out what to do with every hazardous thing, but we can at least say, look here.
Give options, yeah. I agree, because the lithium battery stuff right now, it's gonna be a real issue.
That might be a nice tab to have on the website, you know, hazardous waste, and then click on that and tell you
Okay,
what you can
resources,
do
yeah.
with
Right.
the various
But like,
items.
that's
Like,
probably
maybe
beyond
notate some
that's
stuff.
beyond the scope of the bylaw, because I don't think we can be hyperlinking the thing
No.
in here.
No,
So-
it's
But a
separate
separate but
entity.
important, yeah.
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 Are we recreating the wheel here? Does DEP must regulate the waste haulers, right? They must say
Board of
that,
Health, Board of Health is, I mean, they're regulated too, but Board of Health is supposed to actually permit and license them to come through your community.
But it seems like they might not be.
I don't believe so, but
Yeah.
it just never has been done, but you know, if Ben knew about it, he would start.
Yeah, I think it's
I
something.
mean, I think Southampton just started 5 or 6 years ago.
Yes.
So it was kind of an uproar that they were doing it,
Yeah,
but it
he's
required
looking
to.
into it. I
Okay.
spoke to him about it.
Right.
Okay. I think we have enough for future meetings of what we've just done and assignments and
I
talked
agree.
about. So we don't need to look for any more trouble.
Need a motion to adjourn?
Oh, wait a minute, let me make sure. Don't be quite so anxious.
That's gonna be on my tombstone, motion to adjourn.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? Nothing? Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is history. Thank you,
Oh,
everyone.
and I ask,